Hello and welcome to the No Pricks Allowed podcast with your host, Aaron Buchner from Cactus. I'm Wendy McConnell. Well, hello, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing well, Wendy. How are you today?
I'm doing well, but I wanted to bring something up that we haven't talked about in quite some time because it's been cooler weather. I haven't really gotten a chance to see any of your T-shirts because you're wearing a sweater, you're wearing a
I'm wearing a sweater
sweatshirt.
today. Yeah, I have one new T-shirt because I haven't been to many concerts lately, but I don't have it on today. Today's the Queens of the Stone Age. I don't feel like lifting up my hoodie today. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
That's
boycott
okay.
that
I,
today.
I actually have heard of that band.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm wearing that one again. I'm like, I have one new T-shirt because it was my wife went in December. Yeah, December. She went to Toronto to visit a couple of her girlfriends, and they went to a concert without me, which frustrated me.
Oh,
I
no.
know, but she brought me back a T-shirt, so I have a T-shirt from it, which is
Okay.
good. But a band you wouldn't know, but we've talked about before on that audience. But funny you bring that up. It's like now I'm trying to figure out a concert I have to go to, which is I'm fighting. Well, not fighting. We're
Discussing.
bickering. We're talking. We're effectively communicating back and forth. Let's do that about a concert because there's two concerts and one is a festival over 2 days and one is just one concert, but they're one's a Saturday, Sunday, and then the other one's that Monday, like the day after. She's like, well, we can't do all three. And I'm like, well, why can't we do all three? But it became a cost issue. Is that we're looking at it's like, oh, this is expensive because the one's a festival. So it's like, okay, we need to drive up to it, which is north of Barrie. So it's north of Toronto. So it's a few hours north. I'm like, but then we'll have to pay for parking. So I have to get a parking pass. And then it's like, oh, wait, then we'll have a hotel on top of it. And like, oh, yeah, then we're going to have food for 2 full days on top of it. It's like, oh, this is becoming expensive.
See, now it's a good thing you did this because, if you thought about it sooner, you probably could have budgeted for that.
I was like, yes, I could have budgeted for that, but we didn't know the lineup, so we didn't think about all the costs, and then they've kind of dropped some of the lineup. We're like, ooh, this is a good concert. Maybe now we want to go.
Well, that was my sneaky way of transitioning into the actual topic for today, Aaron. So,
Yes,
we're actually doing part 2 of an episode about budgeting, correct?
yes, because we talked about budgeting last time. I think it was last episode, and I figured I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it because we talked about how budgets suck and where people go wrong on budgets, and we did that, but we never actually talked about, okay, how do you create a budget? I did a very, very quick overview, and then I was talking to other people. They're like, well, I don't know how to create a budget. It's like, can't you give me like direction and things I could do to actually create it and make it easier? And I'm like, I could do that. I think I could talk about budgeting for
Yeah.
20 minutes. Hopefully people want to listen to it and learn some tips and tricks and make it easy for them.
We've become so dependent on instructions. You look up in a search engine how to do something, and they start off with turn on computer. So if it doesn't start with turn on computer, we're already lost.
Well, I don't know if I can give you step by that. This is gonna be Lego. I'm gonna give you pictures, and you gotta figure out, okay, how do I put it together? Or more like
All
my
right.
kids now, it's a tub of pieces. It's like, just get creative. I'll kind of tell you what to build, but you got to figure out how to put it together. How about that? I'll do it that way.
It's not really what I want, but that's what you're offering. So let's get to it.
I'm gonna do it that way because some people, I guess, right off the bat, it's like, do people even want to budget? And this is always a fight I have with people. It's like, do people really want to do it? And even when you look at studies, it ranges because sometimes people say you can get anywhere ranges from like 20% to 75% say they have budgets depending on the study when they put out these communications and say, do you have a budget or not? But then even the type of budget they have varies. Sometimes it's actually they'll have like spreadsheets, or other times it's just mentally in their head. So it's hard to tell. It's like people really want a budget or not. I think people want to, but they don't know how to. And I think it also depends on who they are and where they are in their financial journey, if they want to even create a budget.
Well, and I think we talked about this last time. I am very anti spreadsheet. I'm never going to follow something like that. I am good with, a document of keeping track of things. I like to think I could commit to that, but I know I'm not going to do the spreadsheet.
Oh, and I don't like the spreadsheets either. And it's weird, me as a financial planner that plays with numbers and spreadsheets all the time. I don't want to do a spreadsheet budget. It drives me bonkers. But that is, I think it's just mentally where I am financially in terms of the money coming in between me and my wife and how we live our life. I don't need to go that deep into creating a budget like that at this point. And I think it's the same with a lot of people. If they're saving enough money and they don't have debt, they probably don't need to have this very strict, detailed budget breaking down every single thing they spend their money on all the time. But I think other people who are like, oh, wait, like, I never have money at the end of the month. I'm still drowning in debt. I have this mortgage and they're having the financial difficulties. They probably need to start doing that diligent work of, okay, create that budget from every line of what are you spending your money on down to the granular little sand all the time.
What do we start with? Let's say, we need to we're I'm a person who needs the budget. I I don't have a lot of debt or whatever, but I sometimes don't have much money at the end of the month. I'll tell you that.
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is creating a budget is not that silver bullet. It's not going to
Right.
correct everything. It's not going to make everything perfect for you, because the budget can only help you tell you where your money's going. It's not going to randomly make more money appear. So in certain cases, it could be you just need to make more money, or in a lot of cases, business owners or people have fluctuating income or are working shift work, and some weeks they have more than less, and that various income, it makes it even more difficult to create a budget. So the first thing is, yes, you need a budget. No, it's not going to fix all of your financial problems. And we'll start with that first.
It's funny that you say that, because that's one of the main issues that we have is my husband works a lot of overtime. And when I do make a budget, I make a budget based on his base of 40 hours a week. And that leaves us very stretched, but very rarely does he only work a 40-hour work week. But I can't count on it either. So, you know what I mean? It makes it very difficult. So it was interesting that you pointed that out.
And it's good to hear that you do it based on his base salary, not what you expect he'd get from overtime. That okay, the overtime's there, but you don't know how much. I think if you said, oh, he's going to absolutely work so much overtime, your budget would be very stretched. It might, because then that's what would throw you off left or right. Because you're like, oh, well, I know that there should be an extra $500 coming in, but it ends up only being $200. And now it's like, oh, I've overspent by $300. Oh, what do we do now? So it's good to see that you're doing it on the lower amount, but now it's okay. If you're stretched at that amount, it's why are you stretched? What is happening? So I think for budgeting, everything I always talk about, and I always talk about finances this way, it's all about prioritizing. And it's always that thing of what is important to you. What are those things that you absolutely want in life? And what type of life do you want to live now? What type of life do you want to live later? And what type of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a person who's always fighting with a budget and constantly having to do these detailed spreadsheets 5 hours every night, balancing the books, making sure there's enough money? Or do you want to move past that and be able to get to the point where it's like, you know what, mentally, I know we can only spend this much money, and the right moves to make sure, okay, I'm not overspending and I'm still putting money where I want to, and I'm creating enough income to go to those concerts, which I didn't do. And I'm paying for it because I didn't think about the cost of the concerts for myself. As you can see, I'm not happy that it's costing too much. And I'm like, I can't do it. And I'm like, I don't think I could do it. As much as I want to do it, I really want to go to the concert. I'm like, I'm going to have to pass on it. And that's a tough thing for me to say in priorities, but I have to prioritize other concerts because I know I can go to this other one and do it at a less be more cost efficient manner, and then take that extra money and go, you know what, I can use this for something else later in life. So even in prioritization, yes, I want to go to all concerts. I would love to go to all three. If I had the money to go to all three, I would. I can't do it. So I have to prioritize which one is more important to me and which bands do I want to go see and which ones can I actually afford in the end to go there.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I would pretty much think that we should probably just in general think, people should save a little now, have a little fun now, like kind of doing but both, you know what I mean? Like, like you said, set out the priorities and then like where do we go from there?
Who doesn't want to live life now? That's me. I want to still enjoy my life now. I don't want to deprive myself too much at this point. I know people can do it, and there are people who are willing to say, you know what, we've talked about this before, where they'll strict their life to nothing for 3 years to make sure they can reach some other goal. And if that's what you want to do it. But I like the fact of having fun now and later. Why can't I do it both? Why is it one or the other? Let's just make it an equal plane across the board, and I can go have both. So that's where mine is. And I think a lot of people is the prioritizing of what do they want to do becomes the most difficult aspect, because if I tell you to prioritize, your head's probably spinning of all of these things you want to do. But if we're looking at just a budget, if we're talking about, okay, you're looking at your budget and you've said right now, okay, my money's stretched, or I'm just making enough, or there's other people where it's like maybe they want to save more because they know they need to, and yet they're only having $50 at the end of the month left to save, but they want to be able to get more. I think the first thing they should do, which is probably a simple task, is rather than go through your budget line by line, look over the last year and calculate it all up, plus and minuses, and see how much you've spent, which some people don't want to do. Others, if you want to do it, is maybe just take last month's credit card, assuming you put everything on your credit card. Assuming, I don't know, a lot of people do that. I do that nowadays. Take that credit card statement for last month or the last 2 months and bring either a highlighter if you like color coding or just a pen, and look at line by line, where have you spent the money? And put next to it was this a good spend, a bad spend, or a neutral spend? So you can do like a positive, like a plus sign for a positive, a neutral, maybe just leave it blank, and a negative, put a minus next to it. So that will give you a quick snapshot of where are you spending money. And in terms of what you spent money on last month, were you spending a lot of money on things that you didn't care about? Were you spending on everything you did care about and nothing? But it's going to give you that quick snapshot of when you're thinking priorities. It's, okay, where's my money going right off the bat?
That makes sense. Because I buy too much stuff. I like everything. So you're right. I mean, do I need another, pickleball squirt? Do I need another, book that I can't get from the library? These are the things that, I spend too much money on.
Yes. And everyone spends money differently. And I'm not here to criticize and say, don't go buy your squirt. I know pickleball is your thing. Don't worry. Go buy them if that's your thing. But I've been reading Atomic Habits and, listening to it, and listening to it, read it. It's fun. I've been but even they talk about like the feedback loops and the compounding effect of good and bad, and even the negative spending that we have. So spending money on these little things and how it just can compound over time, because you get into the habit, a lot of people, where it's, oh, I'm upset. I've had a bad day at work. I need something to make myself feel better. So you go and buy that thing that maybe you shouldn't have spent money on to make yourself feel better. But then what happens is then now you look at the credit card statement and go, why did I spend the money on that? Now you're depressed. So what do? You spend the money again.
To make yourself feel better.
Make yourself feel better. And now all you're doing is you're just compounding on everything.
Yeah.
You're just constantly doing little bad things over and over again. So it's focusing on, okay, what are the good things? Where did I positive put the money? So even don't look at that credit card of, oh, I spent a lot of negatives. Okay, but did you save? So you know what? I was able to put $50 aside. Perfect. Focus on those positives, because you know what? That $50 you're able to put away every month will compound. If you're looking, you know what? Next month, I want to increase that from 50 to 75. Then you'll start thinking about those spending. Okay, you had a bad day, but do I want to spend the money on this item, whatever it is? But then that means I can't put $25 towards here. But I know if I put that extra 25 towards savings, it's going to compound more on the long term. And that's going to give me more than the negative, which is going to make me feel bad. So it's that back and forth battle I know we have. And So I think it's people have to realize those negative impacts as little as they can be, they'll compound on itself over and over and become bigger problems and bigger problems and bigger problems, because $20 a month every single month will start to add up over time.
Yeah, and by the way, Atomic Habits, amazing book. I think maybe instead of some of the English literature that's required in high schools, a book like that should be required. It's such a good book. So just
Yes.
my own little plug for a recommendation of a great book there. So
It's weird that it's like I've been trying to get back into books, and even like the trying to get away from YouTube and social media as much as I physically can,
yeah.
and folks, okay, let's learn stuff. So I've been going down the rabbit hole of books, and I've been listening to a lot of books because it's
Mm.
easier while I'm doing my work to plug my headphones in and think. But problem is, you run into good books like that, and then I'm like, I have to stop my work because I really want to listen to what he's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a good thing, because now it's like, wait, I'm stopping my work, so I'm not getting work done by listening to him. Like, is this a good thing or a bad
Uh, you have to prioritize, Aaron. Okay.
thing? Yeah, and even if I guess I want to go back to even just the positive and negatives on the spreadsheet. We talk about all the negative things of, oh, we've overspent here and dwelling on that, but even things that you want to spend money on can sometimes be that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it. Like, it's the same thing of like, I'm talking about concerts. Like, I love to go to concerts. Like, that's where I want to spend my money. I want to put my money on concerts, but I know if I did that one extra concert, it's going to hurt me more. So it's, as much as I want to do it, I need to prioritize, okay, but what are those other goals I want to achieve? And how can I still get enjoyment out of other stuff? It's, yes, I may not be able to go to this big festival for 2 days and do all this, but you know what? I can go to a few smaller concerts in lieu of that. That'll probably be a whole lot cheaper over the long run, because then I can just go in, come home, hopefully, and not have hotel stays, or I'll stay with my parents. They live there, so it's all good. But so even the positive feedback loop, it's, if you do look at those credit cards and I'm spending money on everything that brings me joy, it's okay, but of those 15 things, what are the top tier? What are the ones that you really, really want to spend your money on that are more important than others? It might still bring you joy, but there's something that it's like, this is going to be a little bit better for me, and I'll have more fun at this.
Right, and not being homeless when you're retired that's going to be fun too. That's yeah.
I hope people aren't going to be homeless at 42. I hope they can pay off their mortgage. That's a whole different issue. We'll talk about house purchases, and
Oh,
maybe I'll bring
okay.
a realtor in and we'll talk about buying a house. Maybe we'll do that. It's been on the docket list in my mind about that one, but
That's your sign.
as I sign. So I think if people are starting to budget, that's a good place to start, is rather than doing the tedious work and spend hours or days or whatever it is calculating and adding it all into spreadsheets, is just look at last months and say, what did I spend? Or the last 2 months, and do that quick positive minus and say, oh, where am I spending my money? Just so you get that conscious idea of, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done this. And it's just creating that habit in you of like, ooh, is that where I want to put my money? Could I have done this somewhere else? And even if you're doing it in all the right places, like, ooh, do I care about that one as much as the other one? Which one weighs more? Which one's more important to me? And start cutting out those other ones that I want to do it, but maybe I shouldn't have done it this time. I should have held out and did it another time.
Okay. Sounds good. So is that the only way?
No, I think the only thing is, we've talked about the daily, and like, if people should record daily, because I know there are people, and you can find budgeting aspects out there where you're supposed to record it daily. Like, every time you go home is record the sheets, take your receipts out, write everything down of what did you spend on a daily basis. And some people don't want to do it. I know when we talked about this last time is when I had to go on the strict budget, because my wife lost her job and we were down to one income and we had to pay the mortgage and everything off. And we went to straight cash. I didn't do it initially, they said, because that first initial month, we just had that wad of cash. And when we went grocery shopping, or I knew I had to get gas, I just took money with me. I didn't think about how much was in the envelope. I just took money with me. But when it came to that last week of the month, I had very little money left. And that was the eye opener of, wow, I'm really spending more than I think I actually am. So I think and that prone the initial of how much am I spending on a daily? And I did start doing the daily for at least the next month and the month after, figuring, okay, where's my money going? How much am I doing on it? But the hope is you get away from that, because I don't think a lot of people want to do that on a daily basis. They don't want to go home and pull out the receipts from the day and write a log or do a spreadsheet and put it in and analyze how much have I spent and how much have I done after going to work all day, then dealing with the kids and taking them to swimming lessons and do whatever sports activity. Then it's like, oh wait, I can't watch my shows or relax. I need to now do my budget. And I think we want to get away from that, because budgeting is going to be a habit. It is something you want to do. And more back to atomic habits, you want to make this easy, as simple as possible. So the hope is yes, initially you may have to start doing it daily. You're probably going to have to record initially how much you're spending, but then the hope is you're going to get away from it, because you're going to have that eye-opening moment of, where's my money going? How much am I spending on different things? And you can make this a little bit easier on yourself going forward by switching from, I know I can only spend this much at the grocery store, to, okay, I can spend this much in a month, and I know I'm not going to go over that limit. Because I'm at that point now. We just know, okay, what's left after all our bills. This is how much money we have. We just don't go over it. As simple as that.
Sounds so simple when you put it like that.
I think it sounds simple when you do it. It's how put it into work. That's the hardest part.
Yes.
It's easy to say, oh, man, it's not that hard, but it is that eye-opening moment of how much you actually are spending. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work initially, but it's going to become easier as time progresses. And you can dial it back to that point of, okay, this is simple. This is easier for me. I don't have to do it. And there's even the fact of, it's like, you can make things, if you feel spending money still makes you feel bad, find a way to reward yourself from doing a budget. If you're, as it is more atomic habit stuff, I'm learning so much from it, is make it rewarding. Do something for yourself. If it's something like, okay, I don't know if I should go out with friends or not because I want to save for the future. It's like, okay, well, guess what? Take an extra $50, put it into your investment accounts, and go out with your friends. So you're doing two things with one stone. It's like, oh, I know I saved $50 for the future, but I still get to go out with my friends. So you get to do those both things. And even with the budgets, maybe it's, if you spend the 5 minutes going over your budget, recording it, or just quickly reviewing it, you can then spend an hour watching Netflix. Like, do something that's okay. There's a reward by doing this. Then it's okay. I can now go into this next thing, because budgeting isn't for everyone. It is tedious, but as you learn to do it and track your spending and prioritize it, it's going to become a lot easier.
Is there another way to do it, or is this the only option?
Is that the only option? The only option is what? Recording it daily all the time?
Recording it daily, or you talked about having the amount of cash and checking at the end of the month, and then the credit cards and going through that. I understand all that. So, but I feel like there's just something else that we haven't touched on yet.
I haven't hit the right way for you yet. Is that what you're trying to say, Wendy?
Maybe. I don't know. I have to wait and hear it.
I don't think there's a wrong answer. Like, you can't budget incorrectly, like I said, unless it's negative. Like, that's the only way you're going to budget incorrectly. If at the end of the day, if you do it daily, but you're budgeting to overspend how much income you have, you're doing it wrong. Like, just plain and simple is the easiest way I can put it. It makes sense. Like, but I don't think there's any wrong way to do it. You can't budget incorrectly if it's the daily recording, or even at times, this is all we do now, is I review, just because of also the chances of people stealing money. And our credit card's now been part of 3 hacking things.
Yeah.
Like through 3 different things, like just random. Like I was part of the Home Depot one a few years ago. So I'm part of that group. That's like, so now I'm self-consciously always checking my credit card all the time. Like once a week, I just go in and I look at it, just to say, okay, where have I spent the money? What is that balance at now? Are we getting too close? So then I know for the rest of the week, it's like, ooh, okay, we went and did something, or well, I maybe bought something I shouldn't have and bought a new pair of Converse for myself. So I'm like, ooh, I spent $60. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't spend as much on groceries when we go out. I guess I got to keep it to just what are the things we need. And I can't buy the cookies this time or the bag of chips. It's, you know what, I got to save that little bit
The
of money.
kids will love that.
I know the kids will love it. I bake cookies at home.
Okay.
I don't buy the cookies. I bake them
You
myself.
said I won't buy the cookies. I'm just going by what you say. All right. So do we have anything else?
So you can do, and you get on social media, is the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% on your needs, 30% on your wants, and 20% on investing. And it's a rule of thumb. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't like rules of thumb. I'm a rebel. I'm just who I am. Is it a great starting point when you're trying to figure out your budget of, okay, am I spending too much or too little? Sure, it's a good rule of thumb, but you can't be wrong in it. Like, if you're still spending 60% on you can still spend 60% on your wants, 10 on your needs, and still save. Is it incorrect? You're not following the 50-30-20 rule. The key thing is, like I said, is you just don't make it negative. However you're spending your money, make sure it adds up to 100 in the end, and make sure you're not overspending
Right.
at the end of it. And then it's prioritize. Is that where you want your money to go? Is that what is important to you? Is when you do these budgets and you're looking at it and go, wow, I spend 60%, let's say hypothetically, on my mortgage. It's, wow, is that really important to me? Do I really need this large of a house? Is there any way I can cut down? Maybe I can refinance. Maybe we do have to look at downgrading our house. Maybe we don't need all this extra space. So I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, but you have to prioritize, okay, is this where I want my money to go? For some people, they'd rather have the bigger house. Go for it. But then guess what? You can't do other things because the money needs to go to the house. You can't go and buy trips or buy a new car every few years and do these other things.
It's probably important to point out, too, that, I think that the majority of people right now are spending much more than 50% of their income on needs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so like, don't think that you're going to make that fit. Like you were talking about, you might be 70, 15, 15, or, so yeah, just like, it's not the hard and fast rule.
No, absolutely not. And you can always stop investing. Like I know people talk about, it's like, oh, put 20%, 30% down on investing. If you have to stop because of just the situation you're under, because of how high the mortgage is, because I know a lot of people in Canada, they're refinancing at higher rates, or you have a child and now you've got daycare on costs. If you have to stop saving for a little bit because of these, that's fine. It's just make sure that when that money comes due, you're then prioritizing, okay, where do I put that money next? And we did the same thing when our kids got out of daycare. It's like, hey, we knew we had that extra money. And it's okay, where are we putting this? What's the priority? What do we want to do with this money? And it's just refocusing and looking at the budget again. Say, okay, where do we want to put this? How can we do it?
Okay. Easy peasy. I got it all figured out now.
Finance shouldn't hurt, and I don't like rules, and I hate people say, oh, you're overspending on certain things and you should be saving more, it should do this. No, it should be whatever fits best for your life and your lifestyle and who you want to be and what your goals are. That's the right answer. Stop worrying about everyone else. Focus on yourself and what's important for you. This stuff shouldn't hurt. You should be happy with what life is now and be happy with what you're doing on a daily basis.
I like it a lot, Aaron, because I feel like
always
that
on a positive note.
financial advisors often, I kind of feel like I'm being scolded a lot. No, the latte factor, and don't have that coffee out, and whatever. And you're saying, hey, if it's important, then you spend the money on it. But so that's nice.
It's more important. I could care less about increasing your net worth by 2%. I'd rather increase your happiness by 2%. Like that's more important to me in the end. It's because you got to enjoy life. And you shouldn't be stressing out about this. You have enough other things like kids breaking toys and other things you need to worry about.
Lots of
And
things.
which concert to go to. That should be
Oh.
stressing you out. Like that should be your stress is, can I afford going to this concert? Not,
Yes.
not have I saved enough money? How do I increase my net worth by 2%? Oh, this person told me I should save 10. So I need to forego all this lattes. It should be, can I go to this concert or not? Like that should be your biggest stress.
Okay. I like it. So if people have some more questions about how you go about handling these things, what you can do for them, how do they get in touch with you?
So easiest way is always through the website at prickfree.com. And you can always email me as well at aaron@prickfree.com.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the No Pricks Allowed podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.prickfree.com or give us a call at 613-876-9899. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Cactus. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The contents of this podcast do not constitute an offer or solicitation for residence in any other jurisdiction where either Aaron Buchner and/or Sterling Mutuals is not registered or permitted to conduct business. The opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Mutual funds provided through Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Commissions, trailing commissions, management fees, and expenses all may be associated with mutual fund investments. Please read the prospectus carefully before investing. Mutual funds are not guaranteed, their values fluctuate frequently, and past performance may not be repeated.